Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, a podcast on musical encounters
Welcome
and
to
life.
Rock and Roll Fridays. This is my first overseas edition. So I have Max Kendall with me of a super awesome band that I through the power of algorithms, I stumbled upon you, Max, and I just love the sound of Deco. So welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays. And Max, tell me, what is Deco? What is this sound all about, and how did it become this?
So yeah, we're a pop band from the UK. We're all living in London. We've always been writing our own music, releasing our own music, but over the lockdown, to kind of keep ourselves interested, because we'd done a big period of writing, so we thought, oh, let's try something fun on TikTok, and we started mashing up classic songs with 80s classic songs. So yeah, got some interesting combinations going on there, and yeah, loads more new music of our own coming out as well at the same time. So
Yeah, do you think that obviously the mashups and all those things, I think like anything else, right? You hear a band or you hear a cover, and it leads you then to the band's music, right? You want to find more, and it's exactly what happened with me. Talk to me about how the mashups came about, and then also songs like I Don't Want to Go Out. Like that really was I just love that song. And then Too Much TV, right? The video, like talk to me about kind of the inspiration around those songs, and how it got there, right? Because a song is a journey, I'm sure. And it's really cool stuff. And I want people here in the States to learn about it.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess, well, first of all, those two songs that you mentioned actually came before the whole mashup debacle, if you want to call it that. But let's work backwards. I guess the mashups, our manager said, oh, well, there was a huge thing that went viral over here in the UK. It was like a sea shanty, which is like a famous boatman's kind of song, and a guy went viral on TikTok with it. And our manager said, oh, why don't you do like a Deco style cover of that? And I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. And then I did it, and I was like, this basically just sounds like an 80s song.
Right.
And I was like, oh, why don't I 80s-ify loads of classic songs? What might Wonderwall sound like? What might I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor by Arctic Monkeys sound like? So immediately, all these ideas just exploded in my head, and I was like, right. And then I started playing. Oh, what could Wonderwall kind of, what kind of style would Wonderwall go like? And I started playing the Bronski beat thing just subconsciously. It was really bizarre. And then that's how that happened. So I thought, oh, maybe I can mash up songs, which is kind of even more difficult, but also equally interesting. So yeah, and then they obviously went down really well, which we obviously didn't anticipate at all.
Right.
A lot of our TikTok stuff up until that point, we hadn't really found our TikTok niche, if you like. So I guess we started doing that, and then we thought this is a great way of getting people to listen to those, and then if 10% of those people go and listen to our own music, then it's more people than we had before. So why not?
Yeah, it's all. I mean, it's all about getting people into kind of the playlist, right? Because there's no longer albums, right? So it's song by song, and that kind of generates the interest. What is it about? What is it about at the 80s? It seems like the 80s is like this. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, right? So it's like this decade of like, it never kind of goes away, musically, style, talking about it, TV shows. It was such a influenced decade. And maybe it's because MTV and music television and
lots of different reasons, I think. Obviously technology plays a big part in it, but because of various reasons like that, because of MTV especially, people who might not have been hearing that kind of music before were hearing it and merging it with what they were doing. And so it was kind of this, I guess, cultural explosion, really. So loads of different things were happening. I wasn't there, but I love what happened in the 80s, in terms musically especially. So it's so much variety, and as a result of that, lots of bad stuff got made, but also
right.
Even more good stuff was made. So it was I guess, quite an experimental phase, and I guess we're kind of taking influence from that and mixing it with slightly more contemporary pop songwriting, I suppose.
Yeah, it's always interesting when bands talk about their sound, or more importantly, or less importantly, when writers or consumers talk about the sound, like, because they always want to put people into like a bucket, right? Like a London pop band or rock band, right? But I just feel like your sound has a lot of different influences that doesn't necessarily just say pop music, right? Because
Yeah.
can you talk to me about kind of some of those influences, and, you know, how do those songs come about when you're thinking about songwriting? Is it, you know, I'm going to write a pop song, or I'm going to write a rock and roll song?
I mean, I guess, for weirdly, I think maybe what I'm listening to at a certain time, and maybe like a year later, that starts coming through. It's really weird. It's like a subconscious thing for me. So I don't often. It's different because three of us in the band write, and I think we're all slightly different, but we all can write in these different ways. But generally, what feels more natural to me is I'll sometimes wake up with a melody in my head, or I'll or yeah, something will just pop into my head like a little tune or something like that, and then in my head I build around it, and then I kind of leave it there for a little while to kind of manifest, I suppose, and then until it's ready, I don't go to a keyboard or my computer to kind of make the song. I like to try and work it out in my head. It's really bizarre. I wish sometimes I had like a USB stick and I just could just go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
generally how it works.
it's really interesting because I am not a musician, but I have sounds in my head. You know, I'm like, wow, if I could play what I'm thinking in my head, I would be amazing. So
Mhm.
that must be frustrating also, right? To try to take what's in your head, remember it, and
It
put it
definitely
there.
definitely can be, but I feel like generally I'm getting better at translating it onto a physical thing. I'm not the most talented musician ever. The guys in the band are a lot better at playing guitar than I am, but I can do enough to like record it down, like learn the part ferociously, and then get it down, and then after that it escapes my brain and I can't play it ever again. But that's that's quite funny, really. But yeah, that's kind of how I write. But then John in the band, he likes to sit down with a piano or a keyboard and sort of play around. So
Yeah.
we're all kind of different.
Well, good bands are the sum of all the parts, right? So
Yeah.
there's, you know, and it's a team, and it's really interesting that all of you write too, because that's not necessarily the case in most bands.
Yeah. I mean, it means lots of different songs to choose from, which makes life difficult a little sometimes. But generally speaking, we're all on the same kind of wavelength. So I feel like I always dread choosing songs for a release, but then actually we always end up thinking similar ones anyway. So yeah,
talk
we're on the same page in that sense. But yeah, it's really good fun.
Talk to
Obviously.
me about playing live, because I've seen it seems like the band has a real connection to its fans. I see a lot of the pictures with the band in front of the crowd, and, you know, more intimate type shows, and it seems like it's just a fun time out, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what music should be, right? An experience and um entertainment. So
yeah.
talk to me about that connection with the fans that see your shows.
I think it's something that's happened naturally from the music. I love all sorts of different music, and I equally like going to gigs which are very kind of atmospheric, and the singer doesn't say anything for three songs or whatever. But what feels natural to us, and with the music that we write and the music that we play, is to get people involved. We really do like vibe off what the audience is doing, and if the audience is sometimes just stood there, it's quite difficult for us to kind of get into it. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds really cliche, but it really, when you're playing kind of upbeat music that you need to be moving around to, you do really need the audience. So yeah, I guess we get them involved as much as is like suitable, I guess. And yeah, not too much. But yeah, that's just kind of we always, after every show that we do, whether it's like a support show, like we go out and meet the people that have seen us, and even if it's a headline gig, we'll go behind the merch stand after and meet everybody. So yeah, we kind of want to be we want to meet everyone. Like that's what we want to do. We're not doing it for like any kind of to make us
Yeah.
look kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think with that kind of band that you know, we're never going to charge for like meet and greets or anything like that. You know, we want to just connect with the people that listen to our music, and we kind of want them to get to know us a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, and that's that makes that whole experience of going to shows more fun when the people that you are playing that you like, that you have a connection to the band. So
and that doesn't go away when you're in a band. Like, I still go to gigs, and then if I get the opportunity to meet the band after or whatever, you know, I'll jump at it, you know. So.
Yeah. What I always ask this question, what is it about music? Why did you choose this path, right? You could have been an accountant. What drives you, motivates you around playing music?
My accountant wishes I was an accountant, probably.
Yeah. Well, most accountants don't wish their clients were.
Yeah, true. I think basically it's like I don't want to sound too cliche. It's just really natural. Like, I'm a creative person. You know, I did a degree in design, and you know, I still do like bits and bobs for various clients to pay the bills and whatever, like a lot of bands have to do.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm very lucky to have that to fall back on. But because of that, and that's kind of made me love music even more, because music was a real escape for me from working and so on. But I think from a young age, like, I've got my mum and dad were really into music. My mum sang a lot, and my dad played me all his old records, and I used to sing in like the school shows and whatever. And I just love singing. Simply singing makes me feel happy, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why I do it.
Yeah.
And I've got a ridiculous drive to like, you know, do well in it. And I think that.
And I heard within your answer, you said work over here. So music to you doesn't sound like work. It sounds like joy. I mean, joy.
Yeah, it is hard. When you actually analyze it, it is really hard work. But I don't see it. I don't see it, you know, because it's, you know, all going to the place that I want it to go to, all my efforts. So
it's awesome. And so you mentioned, I'll translate, when you say gigs in America, it's shows. So you said, you know, you see your favorite bands or your you know, the music that you love to go see. Have you had any good run-ins or experiences with some of bands or people in the music world that you're like, wow, how did I get in this situation?
Yeah, a couple. I feel like the biggest one for me was Nile Rogers. That was amazing. Like, we supported him and Chic at the show once, which was pretty incredible. They're like the best band I've ever seen live. It's just unreal. But 5 minutes before I do this routine before I go on, I have to really religiously warm up my vocals, otherwise I'll suffer if we're on tour. You know, my voice will be groggy the next day. So I have to do that, and I have a very set thing, and I go in the other room and do it away from everybody else to not annoy everyone. And then I just suddenly hear, "Where's the support band?" That's a really bad impression. And he's coming up the stairs, and everyone's like, "Shit, it's Nile Rogers," and
we got to go on.
and he was he came and had a photo and was chatting and stuff, and we're like, and then by the time we'd finished, we had like a minute before we had to go on stage. It was like, quick, get our packs on and everything. It was that was a pretty surreal moment, but and he was lovely, really lovely guy. I think that's kind of the standout one for me. And I bumped into Liam Gallagher once from Oasis. I was on my way to play tennis. That was a bit weird. He started talking to me about tennis. I'm trying to think of other run-ins I've had.
I could only imagine Liam talking about his serve.
Yeah. He was complaining about Novak Djokovic. I can't remember, but that's all I can remember. But yeah.
What do you think? Do you think these artists? I mean, the artists that are, you know, I always say, like, you know, the Beatles started in a basement too, right? Like, the Beatles started in a bar, right? All these bands all over the world that play out. You know, they have this, I think they have this misconception that these bands went from A to Z, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes, I guess, well, sometimes it can seem like that because, say, if I don't know, a band you're kind of starting out, you've got one name and you're kind of on the local circuit, and then suddenly you go away for a couple of years because the label's clocked onto you, and the label says, "Oh, change your name, change it," and then that's it. Boom, when they come out with a new name. So
yeah,
that's how that's how that kind of perception gets generated, I suppose. But yeah, in reality, they slogged it out to get the label, and then yeah. So
right.
yeah, I guess most bands and artists have to do all the legwork. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time, really, in different bands before Deco. So
Yeah.
it is a slog, but it's all worth it for like the tiniest of moments sometimes.
So for people that don't know Deco, where should they start? What's kind of like the three song starter set that you would want them to check out, and where can they find this information?
Cool. So we're Deco Band, DECO Band on all the socials, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., and TikTok, of course, and also YouTube. Not forgetting YouTube. I always forget YouTube. It's very important.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, you'll find there's a whole minefield of videos that you can watch. Mashups and our own songs. But in terms of like the songs that kind of best describe us, Rain. I think that's probably our most popular song live. And then our new single, Everybody Wants to Be Somebody Else. And then I'm gonna say, yeah, I Don't Want to Go Out. That's a good one.
Cool.
Slightly different pace to the others, but it's quite anthemic and feel good. So
awesome. Well, Max Kendall of Deco, I appreciate your time. And Deco is great, and I want everyone to check them out. So I appreciate it being on Rock and Roll Fridays.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun to chat.